Good evening, everyone. We have a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May, New Jersey. We are here in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. Today is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. The time is now 5:04. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. You're talking about you.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the agenda was delivered to each member of City Council, posted on the city website and the Cape May City Hall Bulletin Board. Notice is hereby provided that Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. The City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Here.
Councilmember McDade?
Here.
Councilmember Meyer?
Here.
Mayor Mullock?
Here.
Councilmember Yeager?
Here.
City Solicitor Gillen Schwartz?
Here.
City Manager Vol is absent. City Engineer Paul Dietrich?
Here.
Chief Financial Officer Kevin Haney?
Here.
And Director of Civic Affairs and Recreation Casey Radigan?
Here.
Any updates tonight, Council?
City Solicitor, any updates?
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
City Engineer?
I do have a couple of things, thank you. First, we did have a pre-construction meeting for the upcoming beach fill. They're going to probably be starting to mobilize equipment into the Coast Guard facility starting over the next 2 weeks. And then they'll probably start construction on the Coast Guard shortly thereafter. They won't be starting work on Wilmington Avenue Beach until December 18th. They have, however, anticipate sending out letters to people in that general area, just notifying them of the impending work and really talking to them about the noise and vibration monitoring that are going to be set up and established. So if they have any questions, that will be coming out. I think the city manager, myself, and the clerk's office has a copy of the resident list that's getting that. So in case anybody from the city calls, we'll be able to answer their questions and forward them on to the Army Corps of Engineers.
Mr. Dietrich, how long do you anticipate that disruption of time?
Our section on our beach is going to be about a week.
Okay, thank you.
And it'll probably take them, a little bit longer to move pipes around and stuff like that. And again, that's a 24/7 operation. So they'll be working, and their hope is to be all mobilized out of here before Christmas. I think that's what they're trying to beat that day. The other thing is, we are looking to go out to bid for the HVAC at the convention center. We, if you recall at the last meeting, we had authorized the bids to be prepared. We have them in an advanced position, and we're looking to advertise and have that out so that we can get them on the street and responded back to before the end of the year. So hopefully we can try to get it awarded this year to try to have a new HVAC system for Convention Hall next summer. And the paving project for this year looks like the contract is going to start in about 2 weeks, and they're anticipating starting on Franklin and Congress Street first. So you can be looking for that work. That's all I had.
Just on that one, Paul, I know, sure there'll be communication with the county in regards to Lafayette Street, and obviously with the detours going on right now between Washington and Lafayette, we'll have communication. Do you know if they start Columbia to Washington first on Franklin Street?
I think we want to try to get the work done in front of the fire hall done first.
Okay.
Just anticipation, just to kind of, because the school library project, they have a day or two closure to make some utility contracts, and then we kind of want to get in there right after that.
Okay.
And just so that, that section is done and completed well before any potential future opening of the fire hall. We just want to make sure that we're gone and done and that area is settled before we have more activity in that area.
Great. Thank you. Okay. On to the 2022 audit update. Our CFO is with us.
Yes, I can provide an update. So the auditors determined that our 2022 financials were presented in accordance with the modified accrual basis of accounting as promulgated by the Division of Local Government Services of the state of New Jersey. Essentially, that means that we passed the audit. The auditors did have one finding in their fieldwork, which was that bank reconciliations were not being performed on our payroll and clearing accounts in 2022, which means that necessary adjusting entries were required at year end. As such, and as part of our corrective action plan, I am working with the auditors to ensure that all bank recs are performed on a timely basis and all accounts are up to date prior to year end.
That's great. It's kind of short because I know there was only one comment, which is very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, council? No? Okay. Looks like, next up, we have our Director of Civic Affairs and Recreation, Tourism, and Marketing, Casey Radigan.
Just keep going. Okay. So I am here to present an update, but I also feel like I'm making a statement in a sense as well. So I've given everyone a lot of numbers, and I will explain everything as I go through. Concerts have been a topic that has come up recently, which is why I'm here to touch on them. But first, I would like to touch on the tourism utility as a whole. I have always been instructed that the purpose of the tourism utility, which falls under my department, is to host events, entertainment, and recreation in the city for the sole purpose of providing residents and guests with fun, family-friendly community things to do. This department is not meant to be a revenue stream. However, it is also not meant to run at a significant deficit. It is meant to bring tourists to the city who will bring revenue in by staying in the hotels, eating at our restaurants, and spending time on our beaches after purchasing beach tags. Each year, I present a budget to City Management and Council, which covers all things concerts, parades, children's programs, etc., and our budget is tracked under one utility. Even though the profit and loss of everything falls under one report, I have attempted to track costs related to the concerts to see how we're doing and what is anticipated for the future budgets. Concerts, and I say this based off numbers, but also what I've been told while coming on board, because I wasn't here when concerts started. But concerts have never been a moneymaker. When concluding the expenses and profits from concert-related line items, including performer and promoter cost, advertising and printing, ticketing software, ticket sales, and advertising sales, the concerts have always been in the negative, but the utility has never gone over budget. So the first report, which is on page 1 that you have, everything is in green, and I'm also happy to share this with anyone from the public or anyone who would like a copy. But first, obviously, I'm presenting to council. This utility has never been in the negative. So from 2019 until today, it has been under budget. And I also just want to point out specifically for 2023, which, obviously we've been talking about that lately. We budgeted 1.305 for this year, and we're currently at 713,000. And we only have, about 2.5 months left with some Halloween and holiday events, but we're significantly under budget even just for this year. Then moving on. When I first started with the city just after COVID, the city was at risk of losing close to $250,000 due to previous promoter agreements and lack of ticket sales, specifically for the summer concert series. I presented my concerns and ideas to management, mayor, and council, practically immediately getting on board, and we were able to negotiate the promoter agreements, which helped to decrease the amount of loss. So this goes back several years ago, but on page 2, under 2020 and 2021, so if we had, and again, no one expected COVID. It wasn't like this was anyone's fault, but it was extremely concerning for me as the department head, which is why I brought it to everyone's attention, that we, without ticket sales, we're going to be under $276,000. So between all of us, we were able to negotiate, and we were able to bring down the promoter cost One promoter, we paid $91,000, and another promoter actually paid us some money back from a deposit we gave him, and he only charges $13,000 for the work he had done in 2020. And then the marketing company actually transferred over the work that they had agreed upon in 2020 into 2021, so we didn't actually have to pay it twice. So long story short, we went from potentially losing $276,000 to losing $89,000. So that was just after COVID. So for 2022 and 2023, I changed the format of how we produce the concerts to a venue rental with the promoter and sharing in the cost of advertising and ticket sales. Since then, we've been in the positive, and the concerts have begun to rebuild in attendance. This change allowed me to cut the budget for line item event and performance costs nearly in half, from $400,000 to $216,000 in 2022, and down to $200,000 in 2023. In other words, we saved the city nearly $200,000 and reduced risk when it comes to ticketed concerts. So the pages 3 and 4 are basically showing you that these are all the line items within the tourism utility that cover concerts. So we have event and performance costs, advertising, printing, ticketing, and what we bring in for the ticket sales and any ad sales. So since 2014, based on our financial reports, we've always been in the negative, except in 2022 and 2023, due to doing it as venue rentals, we were in the positive. And then I just cut it down, I simplified it a little bit more on page 4 to just show you what the performance costs were and what the ticket sales were. And again, always in the negative except for the last 2 years. So, just to touch on another hot topic. Since I started, I have been encouraged to try new things that bring different entertainment to the city. Cape Stock is one of those things.
Casey,
Yep.
do you mind if I interrupt for a second?
No, yeah.
I do, people don't see this, and I just want to read these. The actual, not the budget. But 2014, all the line items that you previously said, and I'll say them again. Event and performance costs, advertising, printing, software and ticketing, website, maintenance, ticket sales through the credit cards, ticket sales through the box office. So that's for every one of these years. But 2014 had a negative 110,000, 2015 a negative 153, 2016 a negative 186, 2017 a negative 156, 2018 a negative 170, 2019 a negative 178, 2020 COVID obviously a negative 111, 2021 a negative 101, and again that had a lot to do with recovery from COVID. Then 22 you have a positive gain of 26,000. And 2023, a positive gain of 79,000. Anyway.
Yeah, and
I mean, it's,
what I want to just reiterate, which is something I mentioned. So if you go back to 2019 or 2020, and 2020 was obviously, the intentions were pre-COVID, the department budgeted $400,000 for the event and performer cost. In 2022 and 2023, I budgeted $200,000. So we were already going into it where we weren't going to be spending as much as we used to. Want me to keep going? Okay.
please, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. So I just touching on Cape Stock. So after some brief brainstorming with the mayor and city manager, something fun that came to mind for the city would be to bring some kind of music festival and or local bands performing on the deck at Convention Hall, which is why Cape Stock was created. The genre of music we booked was similar to some of the previous bands that had performed for the summer concert series. It was not too different, but instead it was a different atmosphere, taking advantage of our building's beautiful location. So I can tell you from experience that most new events take a few years to develop and grow. The Convention Hall staff and I are proud to say that Cape Stock went from approximately $14,000 in ticket sales in 2022 to $22,500 in ticket sales in 2023, with less expenses and even more positive feedback from the public. Overall, the second year was significantly more successful than the first year, which is a great sign. I just want to reiterate that the tourism utility has not been over budget, at least not since 2019. This includes not just the ticketed concerts, but also the Rotary Park concerts, parades, and beach concerts that cost the city thousands of dollars and are free to the public, not bringing in any revenue. We've also received some grants for the department the last few years, including the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, which I applied for when I first started, and that allowed us to get $265,000 to help venues affected by COVID. And just recently, we received the local recreational improvement grant of $70,000 for a temporary floor inside Convention Hall for roller skating and pickleball. And for anyone who doesn't know, roller skating, which I just love, severely damages the floor in Convention Hall every year, requiring us to shut down and refinish the floor after each season. So, just in closing, my goal for the department is to continue to succeed in what we were established to do, and that is to bring entertainment programs and positive press to the city. And I do encourage anyone, I'm always open if anyone has any ideas that they want to bring to the department. Unfortunately, our phones are still having issues, and I know we're working on them, but my email, I'm always available by email and my cell phone. So I'm happy to put that on the website as well. But I also encourage anyone to attend the budget hearing that's coming up in November, which is exactly when I present all of this, what we're spending it on, what we're doing, and then for council to approve it. So that's everything in a nutshell the past few years, at least specifically for entertainment and the concerts.
Nice job. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions or comments, council?
I just have a comment because Casey's really been very instrumental in all of this. When we came on, there was a huge deficit, as we can see, and with her expertise in previous areas that she's worked in Atlantic City and so forth, you came in with that knowledge and really took a look at those contracts and found a way to really make it beneficial for the city and also work within the utility. So I appreciate that.
Yes, that was my intention.
Yeah, I mean, it's evident by the change
Yeah.
that you made, that, we're on the winning side of this and not putting us as much at risk as we were previously. So kudos to you and your team for taking that on.
I also enjoy the pickleball last year, implementing that indoors. I think that's really neat, and to think that we'll be doing that again this year with new flooring installed from a grant that you applied for. So we appreciate it. It's very cool.
Is the Cape Stop something that you're going to continue to invest in? Since it's improved substantially, will it be something you try again, or you're not ready to talk about that?
I recommend, since it did improve so much, that it should continue, but I also, like I said, I'm open to any feedback, obviously, from management and council, but I do think it's a good sign of improvement. That's just my initial thought.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question, just for everybody's understanding. Could you explain how the tourism utility is funded, in case anybody doesn't understand why it's a utility and how the money gets into it?
Do you want me to? I can touch on it.
Yeah, tourism utility is funded through, tourism activities,
Yeah.
right? Roller skating, yoga on the beach, things like that, revenues that come in for events and activities that helps fund the tourism fund, essentially.
It's almost like a recycled utility because we have different programs, but like I was saying, we don't get anything in return for all the parades, for all the Rotary Park concerts, for concerts we'll do on the beach for Memorial Day and Labor Day.
How many Rotary Park concerts did you have this season?
There's, I want to say, it cost us like close to $40,000. I don't know how many concerts exactly, though.
But as well, the talent was just really, really cool.
And we've gotten, and I've even tried to modernize that, and it's gotten positive feedback for the most part.
Yeah.
But there's so much that we do that doesn't bring in any revenue. It is strictly to bring community events. So, but on the other hand, the rentals that come into Convention Hall go in to the utility. The programs like the fitness and We Play and Camp Cape May,
Weddings and things?
weddings, all of that goes into, if we do sponsorships, which we still do sponsorships, we do them for roller skating and we do them for the Movies on the Beach, which we now took over the past couple years from the chamber. So we spend less on movies on the beach than we used to. So whatever revenue, but I think there's another, I thought there was, I could be wrong, but I thought there was another tax that went into the tourism utility as well.
A portion of the occupancy tax.
Yes,
that's
yeah.
into
Yes,
tourism.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in all businesses, there are sometimes what you want to call, no one likes the term, loss leaders. It's an investment in being able to attract visitors and people who live here to have some enjoyment that's not a direct correlation to, a fee. And so that's, there are some instances where we need to invest as a community to have the enjoyment of social activities and music and other types of things that, make this a broader community for enjoyment for children, adults, everyone, so.
And you attend conventions and things like that to draw people, wedding conventions and things like that. Are you going to be at the League this year? I remember in the past you were.
I have not gone to the league. There doesn't usually, and I always check, but there doesn't usually seem to have anything that falls under civic affairs or
Right.
recreation for the most part, which is actually somewhat disappointing. Maybe that's something they'll add in the future, but they haven't thus far. But I look into going every year.
That's fantastic. Thank you for
Yeah.
everything.
Okay, thank you very much. On to discussion on music on the mall.
And-
Want to take that away,
Yeah, if you
Deputy
don't,
Mayor?
yeah, if you don't mind. So over this summer on Tuesdays, there's been music on the mall, and it's been very well received. There was a question that came up whether or not at the last bid meeting, whether or not they needed to apply for a permit. So we actually have the opportunity to waive some of those things in our ordinance. And like I said at our last bid meeting, I wanted to bring it up to council just to see, because they really are kind of an extension of the arm of the city, just to see, is that something we want to do? We're not, and part of that application process includes, okay, are you using any police, fire for, road control, support, things like that. And there really wasn't anything like that. So I wanted to bring it back here to council to bring it up for a discussion to see whether or not we are willing to waive that, maybe do it as a resolution, since they are kind of, a city, part of the city ordinance. There are a couple people here from the bid now.
So is there any kind of a defined structure that you've discussed as part of the bid to say, well, we're going to do this start as holiday music, or this would be music every Tuesday, or has there been any?
Yeah, they've done it every Tuesday in the summertime.
In the summertime, but for an ongoing, more structured process?
And that's something that they're looking at this
Okay.
point, possibly doing that.
Okay, so this would first be, would we be considering waiving the permitting process?
Waiving the fee and maybe doing it in a resolution similar to what we do as far as their sidewalk sale.
Right.
Utilizing that space as far as a sidewalk sale. We bring it in as a resolution, these are the dates for the year.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Yeah, well, I'd like to have an understanding from the bid, not putting anyone on the spot now, but just to have a little bit of an understanding what they would like to see. If it's just going to be Tuesdays during the summer season, well, that's been there. If it's going to be something that you want to put more into the shoulder season for during, the spring, as, welcome to spring events and fall, or even during the holiday, is it intended to always be live music? Is it intended to be any kind of audio, so just to have an understanding of what they would be looking to do, and if anyone from the bid wants to sort of talk about what they think is being proposed.
I'd like to make a comment, if I may, before we open up to the public.
Sure, please.
I like that the fact that we have some kind of arm, as you said, of the city as the bid, and I want the bid to have more flexibility than oversight from the city. And I think they already do a good job. They govern themselves. appropriately. They present to the city a budget annually. I think it's an opportunity for them to, when they bring up the budget, to discuss those various other projects they have in mind as well. But my position is, again, more flexibility, less oversight from the city. And I think the lights look fantastic. And they've been struggling through that. And I don't know why it's been a struggle for them. And I think as a community, as a business improvement district, they do well on their own.
I don't disagree. I just, if we're passing a resolution to you know, allow for a permit, I just would like to know what I'm being asked to approve.
Before the bid comments, if you don't mind me clarifying, because we do have, you know, a special event application and a process for that. I'm more thinking what's applicable is there is specifically a mall performers permit within our city code that I think is applicable in most cases, but obviously you're raising the point of it's an extension of the city. Do they need our approval? Do we want to allow them to do that? So I don't feel strongly one way or another, but that's what raised a couple flags of like, ooh, we're performing on the mall. Everybody else needs a permit to do so. Can they go ahead and do that? Do they need council approval?
Okay.
Thank you.
Ready? So Chris Bezier on behalf of the bid, and Michelle and Tommy here. So it's a fluid situation with the mall merchants. You know, they do what seems to feel right at the time, which this summer was the Tuesdays, which was a huge success. It was sponsored by businesses. And it went through with the city manager was asked, and it was told to go ahead and do it. Whether he should have or not, you know, that who knows. But they are an arm of the city. The bid is the only committee that has a council liaison on their board. They are in the ordinances in the city code. So by default, the bid is a extension of the city. To answer the city clerk's question or comment on performances, you know, these performers, that ordinance and code is written to prohibit panhandling, people setting up their guitars and playing on the mall. People performing on the mall, the way the bid did it, would be no different than council having somebody play music at a tree lighting ceremony on city property. That's a city function. It's taken care of by the city, and they don't need a permit to have somebody play something for the city. The mall, the bid is a organization that's an arm of the city, and obviously they will do what they can to stay within the parameters of what they're designed for. But I don't think the bid can specifically state, yes, we're going to do this every Tuesday for the next 2.5 years, you know, or, you know, this year they may decide, you know, we've kicked around the idea of having carolers on the mall, and it's been done in the past during the holiday season. You might have, I believe there's a brass band that's gone around before from the local high school or local schools. I mean, some of these things are planned far in advance, some of these things are planned a week or two in advance. I don't think it's any different than the Rotary Park concerts. There's no special permit required for Rotary Park concerts. There's no application fee required for Rotary Park concerts. They need police presence. They need some of the city's resources. The mall doesn't. So obviously, if there's anything in the bid that ever gets to the point where it becomes more of a burden for the city, or there's more of a question as to how much involvement the city has to have to police it or to make sure it's safe if they're closing off streets, that's what a council liaison's for. That's why they sit on that bid to say, wait a second, this is over, you're overstepping here, and we need to go back to council and get approval for it. So I don't think there even needs to be a question of a resolution to put on the table, because they are an arm of the city. And I think you open up a Pandora's box. If you're going to put a resolution on the table for a operating organization that's an arm of the city to have to get a permit for it, then you might as well do it for every event that the city puts on, whether it's you know, a small event or large event. If they have anything outside the norm, you're going to say, well, if they have to apply for it, then the city has to apply for it. And I think it's all done in good faith. And I think that, you know, again, I think that's why the council liaison's there. That if something is going way overboard, then that's where, you know, that's part of the city's job to step into it. But I don't think it's any different than Rotary Park concerts. I don't think it's any different than council having people at other functions and special ceremonies.
Can I just give a quick opinion? I have no problem waiving any fees and things like that, but haven't we had permit requests from the bid for years? For different events? I mean,
The only thing I
I'm
know
not
that we have a
talking
permit
fees,
request,
I'm just talking
sidewalk sales, something that's specifically
Right.
put on the council agenda.
things like that. I mean, I'm just saying, I have no problem waiving the fees. I mean, just to get to the point.
Yeah.
Waiving the fees, that's fine. I think a permit is what the city's done for many years. My only question for council would be, I think the bid should present to us the schedule that they would like to, I don't know what we're being asked.
Which I don't think
That's
that's
what I-
again, I don't think the
'cause I'm
bid's
looking-
opposed to that. I don't think they're opposed to that. I think where the conflict is or the problem could arise is it's not something that's set up like council is where we do things months in advance. Something
Well,
could come
I
up.
think, Mr. Brazier, and I'm going to turn to the deputy mayor, because this puts the onus on you to sort of, be the person who's understanding what's being done and sort of acting as an approval body individually in some ways, since you're the liaison. I'm trying to understand, aside from the resolution, aside from the permit, I wanted to have an understanding, what was it that you were looking to do? Now, that may be overreaching, but at the same time, you're indicating that as a council liaison, she's, given the authority
No, I'm not
and
giving
sits
any-
to,
That
right.
is
I'm not-
totally
no.
inappropriate.
Okay, well, I'm trying to understand, Shane. I don't necessarily think it's argumentative for me to I'm asking.
Yeah, and that's the reason I put this on the
Yeah. I
agenda.
know, that's what
There
I'm
was
trying
There was
to
a question that
understand.
came up,
Right.
and, but I do think that, similar to the sidewalk sale, I think that we get, at best, what they're looking at doing. So if they're still going to do, Tuesdays
Right.
on the mall, if they're looking at doing a holiday carol or something like that, I think that they can come up with something as far as a general, guideline.
Just a general framework
Yeah,
of what it
general
is, live
guideline.
music, or if it's going to be, audio music. I'm not looking to find out who's showing up and at what time, just a general understanding of
Yeah.
what.
And I think that's all they're looking for. It was just, it got brought up,
And
it
that's-
got brought up that, hey, well, this was great, but next year you guys need a permit. And, the
Yeah, I
bid,
don't
the bid meets once a month, which is usually plenty of advance notice for the liaison to go back to council, put it on the agenda for the next meeting, or 2 meetings down to say, we're going to have carolers the first week of December, or we're going to have, something, on the Tuesdays in the summer. I think there should be plenty of advance notice, and as long as that one meeting notice is enough, and council's willing to, to acknowledge the event, say, have at it, go ahead, and waive whatever permit that needs, whatever fees need to be done, I think that would satisfy the bid and what we're looking for.
I hope I can simplify this a little bit, and
Please do.
utilizing what's in the code. There is a provision in the code about public performances on the Washington Street Mall, and at the very end, it indicates that any performer or organization that is tax exempt shall not be required to pay a permit fee and shall have the 20-day permit application period waived. So the bid is an extension of the city. They're in the city code. They're a product of statute, product of the city code. We'd be charging ourselves if we charge them a fee, to a certain degree, but they shouldn't be required to pay a fee. I don't think they need a 20-day permit application period. They can just indicate what it is they're proposing to do, and provided that receives, I think council's looking for an indication, so maybe
Just
they.
an FYI, that's honestly.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah, next meeting.
there's nothing in here that I think would jam up the bid. It's just, indicating, I think, what Councilwoman McDade's looking for is, what are you proposing to do? And, just.
And I think council can be updated on a regular basis via the liaison from the bid meetings on what they intend on doing going forward.
But do you intend maybe the next council meeting or the meeting after to present what your ideas are for the
Yeah,
rest?
we could do the rest of this year.
Yeah,
as
I mean,
well as
we
next
just
year.
had a meeting last week. I mean, there were some ideas that were kicked around, but the next meeting would be the second Monday of the month, so it would put us on the second Monday in November, which is plenty of time for the holiday season.
Great.
And I'm sure that Deputy Mayor Baldwin can come back and say, here are the 2 or 3 activities planned for the mall, and that way, if there's any objection from council, we have time to rectify that before the season gets here.
Perfect.
Here's the other thing, too. Sorry, Councilman.
I think you were kind of alluding to something, and I think what you were talking about with the code and waiving the fees and the fact that it's a nonprofit. I think when it comes to our form of government, we as a city council do not have to do this by a case-by-case basis. We have a city manager, and a lot of this filters through the city manager already. So I think if there's something that the onus is not on any liaison or anybody of this organization, I think the onus is on the city manager.
Not
think-
necessarily, because I was thinking the same thing, Councilmember Shane Meyer. 31056, I don't know if you want to look that up real quick, but it's a waiver of request by the city council by a majority vote. I thought it was originally the city manager, but it comes back here to this body by a majority vote. Am I correct with that?
That's the special events code section.
Okay.
I'm looking at.
So you're-
I'm looking at this more in terms of, we have a open container prohibition throughout town, but occasionally there are events where the city passes a resolution and says, you know what, this is a special event, we're going to close down a street or do something like this. We have a code section that has a specific process for public performances on the mall. If there's a proposal from the bid to utilize that in a different way, they may need or be asking for some flexibility for things like that may be too strict, such as no amplification on the mall. Well, if you're having a bunch of performers to draw an interest and the mall's packed, you may not be able to hear the performers at all, and maybe we want to hear the performers. So I'm just looking at that specific provision, and if the bid could provide maybe, here's, a handful of dates that we're thinking of doing, we want to have amps, but not in violation of the noise ordinance within certain hours. That just gives the city a picture of what they're doing, and it could be something that's approved on an annual basis. Like here's just like the Rotary Park bandstand dates. Those are the time frames. These are the dates that we're thinking of doing it, or days of the week, just to give a ballpark of, and then that would give the city manager. The city council could just approve that by resolution, and then that's it for the year, and any modifications could be approved by the city manager. And that could streamline.
I think that streamlines it. So they would not have to fill out a permit, and it would just be done by resolution.
Sure, and the framework could be, approved by resolution for the year, subject to,
Okay.
Any public safety concerns or noise concerns or things
Yep,
like that.
that would
But,
all be covered.
Provided
Yep.
the parameters are in there, that could be workable.
So the first step would be a presentation from them to council as to what they are requesting, is that?
I
It
don't
could
even,
be an
I
email.
don't even think it's a presentation, just,
No, I'll just,
yeah,
An
just an
email,
email,
right, yeah.
intent.
I'll take it from the meeting and then speak to,
Perfect.
and have the resolution on the next agenda.
And that provides them the go-ahead of,
Yep.
okay, we know where there's an ordinance.
think that-
but
okay.
City-sponsored events there can be exceptions to that in the public interest.
Yeah.
That's it. I think I answered everything.
I'd like to just make another comment. I don't know when this law was created. We're caught up in the letter of this law, but the spirit of the law was created because, I remember when I was a child, there was an amazing performer that was going to the mall, and she would shut down the entire mall and stop everybody in the tracks, and nobody was going to the stores. So that was the issue, why this law was created, to stop people from interfering with the business of the mall. And this is going back to why I think they're well self-governed as a bid.
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. I just want to say it's ordinance 158-11 that talks about public performances on the mall. And just so everybody's aware, it's only a $25 permit fee. So we're not talking hundreds of dollars here. And in this ordinance, it talks about CalORs are exempt from this in the month of December. So it doesn't even pertain to CalORs. But one thing that I think is important here that we keep in mind is that we're waiving the permit fee, but they should not be soliciting for money while they're performing.
Be part of the resolution.
Thank you.
Good point.
Okay. Any other comments on the music on the mall? Okay, sounds good. Next up, we have a discussion from M-Track. Steve Bodner and Martin Van Walsum, if you want to join us up here. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work that M-Track has done for some time now. It's always very valuable data, so thank you very much. So with that, you guys can take it
For
away.
the benefit of the listening audience, I'm Martin Van Walsum.
And I'm Steve Bodner.
We're here on behalf of M-Track. Dennis Crowley was unable to attend today. And at council's request, M-Track reviewed the proposed beach tag increases and found them to be reasonable. We also noted that with these increases, all of the amounts will be in increments of $5, which means that some of the percentage increases are different But based upon the fact that it's cash business at the top of the beach in many cases, doing anything other than having them be in $5 increments would be difficult. It would be very difficult for the beach tag officers to be able to have the number of dollar bills that they possibly would need on any given basis. So we discussed as a committee that it would be a little misleading or difficult to try to have an even percentage across all of the different fees, which I think is one of the questions that would be asked naturally of why are the percentages different. It's mostly because it's $5 and you can't really go much below that. We're happy to answer any questions that the commission has, that the council has. It was not an in-depth study, but we certainly are happy to field any questions and take back anything that we might need to research.
The other one thing I would just mention as well is that in looking at the entire table of proposed increases, the proposed schedule still does include the discount for seasonal beach tags. So, purchased with a certain window in time, which right now I think it's from December to March, but it's December to March. But it does provide an opportunity for residents. It provides an opportunity for second homeowners. Candidly, it provides an opportunity for anybody who is using the beaches in Cape May to take advantage of that opportunity to get a significant discount from what the proposed increase is, because there is obviously a proposed increase for the seasonal beach tag, but that is continuing forward to have that built in for those individuals that want to take advantage of getting a seasonal beach tag before the beginning of the season.
Marty and Steve, Kevin did come, right, and presented sort of different scenarios to the committee, looking at, increases, 10% movement of money, groups into the preseason bucket versus the preseason bucket. And one of the things that I think Kevin also did explain was what some of the drivers were for this, which was around the lifeguard contract, which the mayor has discussed at the last meeting.
So there were a couple, right? One of them that was presented to us is the lifeguard contract. Additionally, it's our understanding that there are some other costs out there as well that, and there's other expenses that are simply subject to inflation that that these increases are addressed to cover as well, keeping in mind what's the goal of the beach utility, to cover the expenses for maintaining the beach.
I have a question. As a council member, what do I say to the businesses when we increase the commercial beach tag by 25%? What is the justification for that?
Almost all of the fee increases are in that same percentage basis. So the discounted beach tag is 20%. The non-discounted seasonal beach tag is 33%. So the 25% is not an unreasonable amount relative to the other fees.
Is that relative? I mean, this is a beach utility. I'm not trying to make a profit off the utility here. I just, if all of a sudden we become, 100 X number of dollars in the black next year, we're going to say to ourselves, "Oh, pat myself on the back. We had a fantastic." So I just don't want.
One of the things that we do know the amount of money that's associated with the lifeguard contract that was discussed. There were costs last year in the 2023 budget, and I had asked Kevin, I think maybe about $70,000 that we didn't fund, that did not get included in last year's budget. We haven't started the 24 budget process yet. We don't know what might be needed. I don't think that this is necessarily looking to build a large base, but I do think that there is some forward planning that we need to consider for beach infrastructure, one, some of which we may not know. Two, this is based on projections. This is not known. This is based on what we expect people to buy in, seasonal beach tags or dailies or weeklies or whatever it might be. So it is a projection, it's not an absolute. So that those numbers could, move around a little bit, and certainly, we do know that that can happen. And finally, I do think that another component to this is looking at providing some opportunity to have some dollars to start looking at expansion of the Beach Patrol headquarters. And it would be nice in the 24 timeframe if we were able to have some dollars in the beach utility to start engaging with an architect or someone else to start that process that we know is going to be coming down, and rather than trying to find that money from another source. So, I mean, this
That's why I brought up the last council meeting, when we were talking about increasing beach tags. I asked the city council, are we looking to increase beach tags, including future funding for the expansion of the locker rooms for the female lifeguards? There wasn't much of a discussion on that last meeting, because we were saying we're just about maintaining the utility. Well, that's something looking forward into the future. So is that part of this plan or not?
Well, I was putting out my view on
Because
that.
I think it should be part of the plan.
And so, I mean, I think that this is an opportunity for us to say, we're going to cover the costs that are associated with the contract. There are some items that didn't get covered last year because of budgets. We could relook at those. And there might be other items that are that the beach, patrol might need that we are unaware of right now. So it gives you those kind of buffers. And then certainly this provides an opportunity for us to start forward thinking around that planning and using some of the dollars to do so. Because if not, we all know that if the dollars are not in the beach utility, then it's going to be something that's going to have to be found someplace else. So that was sort of how I was logically going through this process in my mind. One of the things that I did suggest to the mayor to consider is, right now, the window of time for preseason is open to the end of March. In order to afford more opportunity for people to buy in preseason, we could consider keeping it open to the end of April, and really just try and get as much information out there, certainly to residents and property owners, to try and take advantage of that $30 fee, and offer maybe, 1 or 2 Saturdays in April where, when people are coming back down to open up their properties or get things ready for the season, we could sell the tags on a Saturday or something like that. So, these are just kind of my, sort of thoughts around it.
Shane, this may give you a little bit of comfort. The commercial beach tags are by far the smallest revenue source of all of the beach tag sales. In 2023, we sold 2,829. The next smallest one is weekly at 24,500. So there's just not that many tags that are being sold where that swing is going to cause a dramatic change in the economics of the utility.
Well, my questions are not necessary for my sake. It's to create a dialogue.
Sure.
Yeah.
What was that number on commercial tags, Martin? Sorry.
2,829.
2,800? It was that little.
It is that little.
I clearly haven't seen that in a little bit. And do you have 22 on that?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm going to have to look at that.
But I think the summary of the dialogue is simply, we have investments we need to make in the future. We have some plan now. We have some plan for the future. There are things we don't know yet that we're going to need to spend money on in the near future, and I think we need to not just break even, we need to accumulate a little bit of extra in the fund if we could.
If the council would like, we can take a closer look at the utility and come back with a couple of suggestions.
Can I just piggyback on what you just said, Mr. Yeager? The unknown costs that we receive, just for example, one's on tonight. It's a good cost, but it's a cost. Tonight we have on there, to be honest with you, I forget it, maybe $12,000-$14,000 for the engineering to, pardon me, to put forth a proposal to the state for our boardwalk improvement fund. Now, a couple months ago, none of us knew that there was going to be a $100 million state fund involving specifically boardwalks, promenades. So we're going to put forth a really good grant application for the funds for the first boardwalk in America, by the way. It wasn't Atlantic City. But in any event, So we're going to, but that's an expense now that we have to pay. We have to pay an engineer and would like to do so out of the beach utility. I don't know if that's going to occur or not, because we had so many expenses come in the raises that were given through the contracts and things like that. But that's just a perfect example of the things that come up. Now, it's chasing good money, because hopefully we get some serious grant money out of a good proposal. But those are all things which had already been mentioned. But the seawall itself, as everybody has seen, not just the project that the city's been discussing for years, there's other portions of the seawall that are in very poor condition that could use some upgrades. As has been mentioned, the project for the beach patrol, which every time I mention, I'm going to put the little asterisk and remind people that what is being applied for through the DEP currently is not an extension of the width and not an extension of the height, but an extension of the depth of that facility, so that nobody's views are obstructed any more than they are today. I have to say that every time we talk about this, just so nobody gets scared. But obviously, and again, remembering that now close to 50% of our lifeguards are female, and they have, frankly, much smaller facilities than the males do at Beach Patrol, so it's very clear that it needs to be upgraded. So in any event, all of those features are things that are paid for through the utility. And just, you all know this, we all know this, but for the public, beach tags fund the beach utility. And so we've been saying that, but I just want to make sure everyone understands. The utility operates basically on its own complete separate budget than the rest of the city budget. We have the beach tags fund the utility. The utility distributes the funds from the beach tags to our lifeguards. Some of them actually go to police officers and to EMS for the service calls that they have on the beach. It pays for capital expenditures like tractors and other big projects, beach mats, the things that everybody asks for more and more of. And I have to say, as mayor, I don't really get a lot of complaints, hey, your beach tags are $2 more than Stone Harbor or somebody like that. But I do get complaints that say Stone Harbor has more beach mats than you or whomever. So I think the idea here is we want to make sure that our beaches are the best in America, which they are, but continue that.
Well, just as an aside related to that, I mean, when M-Track was looking at this, we were looking at revenue to cover expenses, of course. But part of that, and Dennis did the research as far as getting information from all of the other communities as far as what they charge for.
Because I wanted to correct one thing you said, Martin, which was it wasn't, I think you said not extensive. You did a pretty extensive research from M-Track's perspective. You mean, yeah,
Dennis.
yeah. Well, you really did a nice job. I mean, this has every 48 other municipalities that have a beach tag on there, and you have every number, the average, I mean, it's pretty extensive.
I'm going to sound smarter than I am because of Dennis's work. 85% of those 48 towns raised their beach tags last year. Cape May did not. And in fact, we were one of 6 that did not raise their beach tags in 2023.
I have a question for you. As you were doing your analysis, did they raise their beach tags every year? Because we just did this 2 years ago. That's the only reason I'm...
3.
Yeah. 3 year, 2021? Okay, so 3 years ago.
I don't know the answer to that because the analysis that Dennis did was specifically for 22 as well. I do think that it's not unusual in the way that M-Track looked at this. If we haven't raised our fees in 2 years, to not raise them again this year makes it 3 years, and now we're starting to fall a little bit behind area rates. Many of the rates are competitive. The seasonal rates specifically are significantly lower than most towns.
I had the average of about $69.
$67.13 according to.
Which I know it's more than that.
I looked at Cape May County, and if we do that, we're going to be at the high end. So, but irregardless, what is the anticipated revenue?
Yeah, Kevin, do you have
Yeah.
that?
It's around 700 to 750,000.
Okay. And the only question I have is the daily, thinking that that might be just a little bit too high. If you have somebody coming here for a day, we might deter them from coming here. We're going to be at the high end of, of coming here. I mean, you have Stone Harbor at $8 a day. Same thing with Avalon, Sea Isle 5. I just,
How much is Wildwood?
0.
That's exactly my point.
Zero.
My point is
I
they're
just-
zero.
Yeah.
Yet we still do, I think people come here because they like to come to Cape May. I don't think it's a price point with people in the beaches.
Yeah, the state average is a little over $10. And so, I mean, we look at specific towns. I don't know that we're competing with Stone Harbor. I think there are different demographics to a certain extent. But I also do think that the practicality of charging $8 at the beachfront is questionable. I don't know what winds up happening when somebody comes up and doesn't have exact change. So the $2 increase does accomplish another objective of making it easier to administer the program for the beach tag officers.
A cash.
It's all cash, right?
And I think we should definitely look into, in the future, modernizing this, allowing people to have card readers.
Cards.
You know, maybe one every third beach. You know, whoever feels
Strong.
Yep.
whoever feels comfortable. They have the cell phone
They have
technology.
cell phone technology.
And it, and I think I heard that we're talking about allowing some kind of app for our phones. I think we were talking about this, not officially in public, but to have something so they can read it, their phone, you can buy your ticket, your tag on the phone. Since I have the floor right now, Mayor, I'd like to point out two things, or pull two things out of your statement I think is very important. One is, Mrs. Smith doesn't go to the beach. She lives in Cape May, she pays taxes. So her taxes don't pay for the beach utility. I think that's important for everybody to realize. Two, I think it's really important to tie the promenade with the beach utility. I think you're alluding to that, Mr. Mayor. Because I would like to see continued maintenance of that promenade. I'd like to see more painting. The ash, or what do you call it? The painting where you did where the
Cool down.
new section is faded and it's getting darker now. I think it's an opportunity to continue down the promenade. And I think right across the street from, what's up? I guess South End Surf Shop, that little mall section. If our engineer can take a look at it, that area, there's some divots in the promenade.
There is.
And if someone rides their bike, they're gonna go head over. And I think we need to start thinking about resurfacing some of these areas as well.
Can I jump in on that? And I'll ask, I don't want to get too far off beach tags, but just as a point, because it is on the agenda this evening too. Mr. Dietrich was on a phone call today with Colliers Engineering and Jim Rottola in regards to specifically the deficiencies, whatever you want to call it, and on the promenade, one of which is talking about some of those divots, which will be part of the application. And Paul, if you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, I mean, part of what you're funding or authorizing tonight, they kind of jumped on it because of the application is due in 2 weeks. They did a full assessment of the entire length of the promenade, and, when we were looking at doing resiliency and, just looking at the surface condition, but there's a lot of different little areas that need attention on the promenade, just from a structural condition and an aesthetic condition, making sure the handrails are meeting code. So we definitely think that we're going to be able to have a competitive grant application to get some of those funds to do those maintenance issues that are starting this. You can really see them out there.
Okay. Any other questions on beach tags? Okay. Well, as always, we really thank you very much for all the hard work that MTRAC does. So Steve, Martin, thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that, we have an ordinance for introduction. City Clerk?
Yes, Mayor. We have ordinance 522-2023, an ordinance amending Chapter 158 of the Cape May City Code concerning beach tags.
Do I have a motion to introduce?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Did everyone get this updated amendment from 1017 today?
If you could also, for the public, explain, because it was advertised as the previous
Right.
one.
I don't, would you like me to speak to that?
Yeah,
or-
one change, right?
Yeah, so there were some minor changes besides what was posted to the website. I believe Councilmember McDade mentioned earlier extending the pre-sale to go from December 1st and March 30th, April 30th versus March 31st. And we recommended some wording regarding the postage fee. For the last few years, it's been $5. Postage continues to rise, so we recommended $5.50 with the caveat that if any mail order goes beyond the standard postage cost, additional postage fees may be assessed as necessary. And that's for the people who are ordering from California. We get a couple from Canada that we don't want to foot the bill for postage. So those are the other two recommendations that we had.
So just everyone's clear, yet the postage thing, and then this is adding an additional 30 days, well, till April 30th for the discounted seasonal beach tags, going from March 31 to April 30th.
Okay.
Okay?
So does the motion stand to introduce that version?
We have still a motion and a second? Yes. Okay, yes.
Do they need to amend, or are you comfortable?
Motion, does council want a motion to amend to include those additional comments from today?
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to amend.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
So this is just to amend with what I said.
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes. Do I have a motion to introduce as amended?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments, council? Anything?
No, sir.
No?
No.
Okay.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Council, we have some ordinances for second reading and consideration for adoption. First being 517-2023, an ordinance amending the city code to include a prohibition of light trespass within the residential zones in the city of Cape May. And there is also a public hearing scheduled, Mayor.
Is anyone here to speak on 517, ordinance 517? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hey, Mayor.
Yeah, please.
For the engineer and for our solicitor, what happens to someone that already has these light deficiencies? Are they grandfathered into it? Are we going to try to get them to comply?
So this is not a development regulation, so nobody's grandfathered in. But what it does is it sets minimum standards for adjoining property owners, essentially. And the complaint process is corralled so that it's not everybody, if somebody just feels like driving around and pointing out a violation, in order to have standing, you need to be somebody that's actually impacted by this. So an adjoining property owner that is on the receiving end of light trespass can file a complaint, reach out to code enforcement. Code enforcement will assess the complaint and make contact with the individual first, not to send them a summons to show up in municipal court, but try and mediate the issue first. Can there be a curbside resolution for this that could abate, not, again, turn the neighborhood into darkness, but to just abate the light trespass and resolve it that way? And if that effort fails, then municipal court is the next step. But it just like the invasive species ordinance that we did a few months back, that that's a narrow space for enforcement. It's not everything under the sun. Code enforcement is keeping their eyes peeled for these things. It's to, if it's really a problem, the impacted property owner can reach out to code enforcement and say, hey, I have a problem. And then that starts the process. Does that answer
Yeah,
your question?
and if a citizen out there is not sure if something's non-compliant, will code enforcement be available at nighttime? Because that's the only time you can judge that type of situation.
Sure, yeah, there's photos, videos that are available to them, but if they need to assess it in person, that can be arranged through code enforcement.
Good question, though.
Thank you.
And my only comment, because I've heard of people, a couple kind of laughing at this one, but as the solicitor has already said, this is not meant for code enforcement to be driving around the town looking for issues. They're not going to be doing that. It's not meant for Fireman Bill to be driving around volunteering, to see light trespass. That's not going to happen. This is a legitimate issue of if there's a light source that's clearly disturbing your peace, not, making people draw their shade 24/7, then now they have an avenue to get in touch with code enforcement and hopefully get to a reasonable resolution that we can all agree on. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments on this? Oh, did we have the public? We did, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I made that.
We have a motion, we have a
And a
second.
second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Next, we have 518-2023, an ordinance amending Section 7 of the City Code to establish one-way lane of travel for a portion of Roseman's Lane with a public hearing, Mayor.
Before we do that, pardon me, I did get an email from, actually, from Roseman's Marina there, asking us to have some further discussion on this, which I know we've already done. But in that regard, since I have not completed those conversations, is it appropriate to table? Do you have?
Yeah, I think, considering some of their comments, we actually, I think the appropriate thing to do is, because they had some concerns, we are in the process of having a pedestrian and traffic safety study done for the island. I think it'd be appropriate to kind of table this. We'll tack that on to have them do a full traffic analysis of that area that'll look at all of those different conflicts from a pedestrian and traffic safety standpoint, and then they can kind of report back to the city on that.
I'm curious, do you know what their concerns were?
Taking boats out, right?
I think it was, that's the way it's been, kind of a thing.
Why change? Okay.
Why change? Kind of thing. It's
Just
nothing
curious.
scientific, nothing technical, just, but I mean, we looked at it from the technical standpoint, and, I think we made the recommendation based on some technical standards, but considering that section of Roseman's Lane has been that section of Roseman's Lane for such a period of time with some of those residents back in there, I think to pay the deference of, let's have a little second independent study, look at it, and give us a second opinion. It doesn't, it's been that way for a period of time. It's not going to hurt us to wait and get a second opinion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So can I get a motion perhaps to table indefinitely, or should I make that? I'll make, go ahead.
I think that's a good move.
Could you make that motion, Mr.
I'll
Brown?
make a motion to table this indefinitely.
Do I have
I'll
a second?
I'll second.
Yeah.
Okay with that, City Clerk?
I don't mind one way or another. I just think we may have to then start that process over because
Yeah.
if we're not
I
tabling
think it'd
to
be
a
better to
certain date to
withdraw
extend the public
withdraw it, and we'll
hearing.
just start anew, because
So don't
it's an
table,
ordinance,
withdraw.
it's an ordinance for this year, so you can't really bring the ordinance back next year because you'd have to renumber it. anyway.
We have,
So-
but it's confusing, so.
Yeah, I don't think we reasonably expect that feedback on the traffic study to come back in the next few weeks.
Right.
So council could,
Withdraw?
withdraw the ordinance with, you could bring it back later once you get the feedback and decide how you want to handle it.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion to withdraw. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions, comments? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
519-2023, an ordinance amending the City of Cape May Code to repeal Chapter 258.
One second. Were you here to speak on that? John? Were you here to speak on that ordinance? Okay. Would you mind coming to the microphone for a moment? I just want to ask you.
Thank you.
If you could please give your,
I
You almost
didn't
got
realize
outta
you were
here.
here for that. I
if
apologize.
you could give your name and address, please.
Oh, I'm John Gartland, 1253 Lafayette Street.
John, what was your opinion on it, just out of curiosity?
Oh, I don't know how this hasn't been an accident now. It's really not wide enough for two cars, going in opposite directions. And right now, Lafayette Street is closed. I mean, none of those people could even get home if they couldn't turn right there now.
Right.
But it's very narrow on that section.
John made a great point. Is there any way we can move that barrier that stops people from continue onto Lafayette Street so people can turn into,
Yeah, that affects you as well.
you
Yeah.
know?
I'll talk to the contractor tomorrow and we'll see if we can get it moved.
Because I don't know how people get into their homes over there.
Well, they go in that little dangerous, alley at the other side of Roseman's. I don't even know why they're both Roseman's. You mean that is so confusing trying to explain to people that not the first Roseman's, but the second Roseman's. I mean, what is that?
No, I agree with you there. So just to be clear, you were supporting it one way or no?
Well, I don't care either way, but so I'm not here to,
Right.
But I do think it's dangerous, especially since a lot of times when you're making that right, if you're not careful and slow down, people are driving too fast to get out of there. And I don't know why there hasn't been a head-on collision there.
I know that's why the engineer brought this whole thing up. I mean,
Yeah.
he felt the same way you did. So that's kind of the discussion that we've been having. And I think, I believe the solution that we're coming to of getting the engineer involved in the pedestrian safety as well. I mean, on the agenda this evening is going out to bid for phase of the bicycle pedestrian map. So including this into that discussion, it seems to make a lot of sense to me.
I might mention that the other Roseman's, when you go there, there's an alley behind those homes on the left, and that really has to be one way. There were arrows painted on the roadway. Do you know what I mean? But it's all wearing away, and honest to God, people drive too fast in this city. And there could be trouble there too, because it's not much better. I mean, it's so narrow. People can't even get out of their garages there. It's so narrow that really has to be emphasized, that it should be do not enter one way and just go around the long way, which is inconvenient for me, but I want it to be safe.
Right.
And for God forbid a fire engine should ever have to get anywhere over there, because there's no infrastructure for an emergency over there. They're all going to go.
That was our concern. I mean, one was the vehicular and pedestrian safety, but very close to that was getting equipment back there that might be necessary. Yeah.
And I guess it's out of the question to widen the first section of Roseman's, because, people live there.
Right.
No. Anyway.
Thank you, John.
Well, thanks for asking my opinion.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
So 519-2023, an ordinance amending the Cape May City Code to repeal Chapter 258 and to adopt a new Chapter 258. There is a public hearing there.
Is anyone here wishing to speak on 519, ordinance 519? Seeing none, we can close public comment. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin? Yes. Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
520-2023, an ordinance amending Chapter 390 of the City Code regarding property maintenance to include regulation of invasive species, and a public hearing.
Is anyone here wishing to speak on ordinance 520? No running bamboo fans? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Any poison ivy people?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments, council? Okay, roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin? Yes. Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
And 521-2023, a bond ordinance providing for various water sewer utility improvements by and in the city of Cape May and the county of Cape May, state of New Jersey, appropriating $2 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2 million bonds or notes of the city to finance the cost thereof, with a public hearing.
Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone.
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. My comment on this ordinance has to do with the fact that the engineering firm that we hired has no desal experience. I would like to see some of this money go towards maybe getting an independent bid or look at, maybe there's a lot of companies in Florida that do rehabbing of desal plants, have them come and maybe do a look at the desal and see what it would cost to rehab what we have inside besides the addition of a new one. And so we can get at least another objective opinion on what we could do with this desal, since we're not going to be knocking the building down, and there's all this piping that goes inside the building that's already there. And we had the 2 roll-up doors, and from when I have talked to some companies in Florida that do rehabbing of desal plants, they say one of the biggest problems has to do with taking those membranes out. And when they designed our desal plant, they did it with the understanding of an addition being put on at that end, but also with the roll-up doors, it makes it easy to extract those membranes and put in upgraded membranes in there. So I would like to see maybe some of this might go towards an independent study of what it would cost to rehab the desal plant. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on 521? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
And next we have the public portion on the resolutions only, Mayor.
Public portion only, okay. Anyone, oh, do we have the, yes, sorry. Anyone wishing to speak on the resolutions only this evening?
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. My comment is on Resolution 277-10. It has to do with the professional engineering contract for Boardwalk Fund objectives. I guess when I was reading this, I was surprised that they were talking about the west end of the promenade, which I'm not sure where you consider the west end to start, to be widened. And I didn't know that was in any objectives, because it also talked about rinsing stations, which we already put in, and ADA ramps, which we bonded for last year, for beach ramps on the mats. So I guess my question is there a reason why we just went with the west end and not the whole boardwalk? And where is the west end?
Good.
The assessment is actually for the entire existing promenade,
Okay, because it was actually highlighted and bolded when it said west end.
but they're actually doing the entire promenade.
Okay. But you're just looking to widen the west end?
Not knowing what they were going to find, they kind of put some information. And as we talked about, this is in anticipation to apply for a grant to get significant funding to maintain the promenade. The assessment was to perform an assessment. So that's what they're going to be doing, is walking and inspecting the entire promenade, all facets of it, and making an engineering analysis and recommendation for funding to repair and rehab, add resiliency in spots. If we have spots where we can widen it in spots to increase pedestrian and bicycle access in spots, it's to really look at it holistically.
Okay. I didn't know
evaluate it.
because it really was talking about widening the boardwalk at the west end. And I didn't know if that was because of maybe for the arches going in, if they widen
It
it.
had nothing to do regarding the arches.
Okay. So it's just about widening it, not
More for-
raising it.
And more looking at for
Just widening
resiliency. Like if on the new part, like the new seawall, if you recall, it has a bench to kind of elevate on the seaward side to increase resiliency. We may look at applying to get additional funds to put resiliency to increase the height by maybe adding a bench on that side. So we're looking and evaluating the entire promenade.
Now, I guess I wasn't clear in this, because it talked about railing. Are they planning on doing maybe a railing the entire boardwalk? I didn't know what the railings were
The
meant.
railings are more looking at the existing railings on the stairs and ADA ramps that exist today.
Which are in bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because I know we had talked about the benches being like railing, I didn't know if that was in addition.
That was not part of what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
And just overall, this is a 9,000, I said 14,000 before, $9,616 contract. And again, this goes back to, the announcement was only made, I think, at the end of August by the state, that they had created this $100 million fund for New Jersey boardwalks. And I think we're jumping on this pretty quickly to have a good engineering plan. I don't think there's going to be a lot of towns that are going to have a lot of engineering, and I think it'll be a lot more kind of creative ideas, where I think Cape May is putting itself in the position of having a pretty significant package to ship and see what we get in funding. None of this is committing us to any of this project. It's just, let's see what kind of funding we can get.
And the state is going to look, because we're making an assessment before we're putting it, we're just not saying, hey, give us $10 million to fix it.
Right.
We're really doing an assessment to document what the need is, phasing it out over a 3-year process to look at what our actual needs are, not just, hey, give us money.
And that assessment is obviously looking at the existing seawall. And I mean, if you look at some of the photographs, there's some bad spots. So I think we're going to have a compelling application. Roz?
Roz Johnson, 826 Lafayette Street. My question is on 281, the town hall meeting. I was wondering if you have talked about your agenda yet for the town hall meeting, since it's only about 2 weeks away.
It hasn't been finalized, but I know that there has certainly been some discussion. I can tell you a couple of the things. One, I know Mr. Dietrich will be giving us an update on
For flood insurance.
Right. Flood insurance. We're going to have an update from the county on the library. And
There's an update from the fire chief.
Fire chief, police chief.
And an update from the police chief.
Okay, great. What I am hoping for is that you do address your main projects that you have done in 2023, which do include the arches, and which include the library and all the wonderful things. So yeah, because what I'm looking for is a reconnection between like the residents and the council. So you can
Right.
say, this is what we've done, and if you have any opinions about it, let us, hear your opinion.
Right.
And
And
I
we
think
wanna
it'll
have
be
plenty-
very successful doing it that way.
Right. We've scheduled plenty of time for public comment, too.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm sure we won't be able to address everyone's questions in a presentation, but we want it to be a dialogue, so hopefully a
Fantastic.
cooperative and
Yep. I am at a disadvantage because I understand you have had town hall meetings before, and I haven't attended any. So I really wasn't sure, what your format usually is and how the question and answer section goes. But it sounds like it's going to be wonderful, and thank you again.
Thank you. I hope so.
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. What Roz said, is it possible, just an idea, for people maybe to submit questions ahead of time that don't want to get up in front and speak to the public?
I think it's a great idea. We should have paper available for that.
You know, like if they could like, even email you ahead of time, like, these are my questions.
We'll take questions at the beginning of the event. Well, if anyone wants to take a paper and fill it out.
Okay, so you only want them to fill it out that night, you don't want them ahead of time then?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because
She's asking, do you want us to, are you opening it up for emails to come in advance prior to even seeing what any of the presentations could be?
I think.
I think it's difficult to manage that.
Okay.
I totally agree. It's difficult to manage, but I support that you would want to give an email to us. That way, if our professionals have the time, give our professionals a time to look into it. So when you do ask a question at the meeting, we'll be prepared for it. I think that's a fair thing for all of us. Just a thought.
Okay. My other one question here, or not really question, is a statement. On 279, the bid for the property at Boardwalk Pavilion, I'm only making, I know we don't get many bids for this, so I'm just going to make a public statement that we maybe, you know, so people, if they're listening, know that the Boardwalk Pavilion is going out to bid for leasing, because I think it's a great deal, and I know we don't always get people bidding on it. That's why.
Thank you. Anything else on the resolutions this evening? Okay, we can close public comment.
Council, anything to remove from the consent agenda tonight?
I have one, and that's actually 279. That's the lease for city-owned property.
Okay.
Anything else, council? Okay.
Okay. On the consent agenda this evening, we have the fire incident report for the month of September 2023, Resolution 274-10, 2023, resolution authorizing submittal of a grant application and execution of grant agreement with the NJDOT Local Transportation Project Fund for the fiscal year 2024. 275-10, 2023, resolution to affirm the City of Cape May's civil rights policy with respect to all officials, appointees, employees, prospective employers, volunteers, independent contractors, and members of the public that come into contact with city employees, officials, and volunteers. 276-10, 2023, resolution authorizing a historic preservation grant agreement with the County of Cape May for the Allen AME Church. 277-10, 2023, resolution authorizing professional engineering services contract for engineering services required in connection with the Boardwalk Preservation Fund Grant Program. 278-10, 2023, resolution authorizing request for proposals for Safe Streets and Roads Program Action Plan for the City of Cape May. 280-10, 2023, resolution for the City of Cape May approving the corrective action plan for the year 2022. 281-10, 2023, resolution establishing a town hall meeting. 282-10, 2023, resolution appointing the ACM GIF Fund Commissioner for the City of Cape May. 283-10, 2023, resolution for the payment of bills.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? Thank you.
I'll make a comment real quick.
Yes, sir, please.
I want to thank Paul Dietrich for stepping up as the fund commissioner.
Thank you, Paul. Any other comments, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
And back to 279-10, 2023, resolution authorizing a bid for lease of city-owned property known as Broadway Pavilion, which is 100 Beach Avenue, Cape May, New Jersey.
Before I ask for a motion, I'd like to ask council to consider tabling this. I think I was given a good idea on this that I'd like to discuss in closed session, kind of similar to what we did with mermaids in the past. We, I think, made a pretty wise decision in talking about how the lease was structured, work on the building and things like that, what kind of became a bit of a trade. So I'd like to put this on for closed session on our next council meeting, just to discuss any other ideas and thoughts to really do this in the best way we possibly can moving forward, if that's okay with everybody.
I think Councilmember Yeager had some great ideas last time, so I'm excited to talk about this.
Good, okay. Great. So I will make the motion to table this until our next council meeting.
Which is November 8th. It's Wednesday, after the.
Just so I'm clear, we're okay with that on the bidding process, Mr. Solicitor?
Yeah, the current lease expires at the end of the year. I mean, really, this is a seasonal operation, so we have time to, if council wants to proceed, I think we have sufficient time to put this out again if you decide to move forward.
Okay.
So I have a motion to table until the next meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on that, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes, and I apologize that I didn't have that prior to this meeting to let everybody know, but a good idea came to me right as we were kind of getting to the table, and I said, okay, let's discuss it, yeah.
All good. All right, any old business, council?
Any old business, council? Any new business, city solicitor?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
City clerk?
Just a couple things. I did just mention the next council work session is Wednesday, November 8th at 5 p.m., the day after the election, not the day before. Halloween parade is Sunday, October 22nd with 1:30 registration. Trick or treat night, Tuesday, October 31st from 5 to 8.
That's great. Okay. Councilmember McDade?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. My comment is with the utmost respect for everybody here in this room. I'd like to see at our next council meeting a closed session, at least part of our closed session dedicated to looking over the resumes of our potential future city manager. I'd like to do this as a group. If anybody disagrees with me, we can have a subcommittee, but I'd like that to be done by resolution. It's an important thing. We don't have a lot of applications, so I don't think it would take much time for us to do that way. And if anybody wants to talk about any other ways we could do it, I'd be happy to talk about it as well. But I think that's best.
I agree. So we can put that on as a council discussion for closed session to review
all applications before we, and then to come up with who we want to interview and when we want to interview as a team.
Okay. Good. Okay.
I guess I was only, maybe time's not as much of a factor, and my only question would be, would there be a problem if we had them on standby to just have preliminary conversations with the candidates?
I think that should be discussed in closed session.
We can't make an appointment with
I
them.
thought we had, so I'm confused, and
Okay.
maybe we need to take this offline.
I just, whatever the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I, Mr. Mind if we finish the council comments and we come back to this? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have any other comments?
I'll just bounce off what Mr. Councilmember Yeager was saying, that's all.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Well, you're probably going to bring up just bring up Scarlett, who's going to be out there doing the national anthem.
Oh, no, you do that. You do that. That's so nice. That's so cool. Do that.
Okay. Well, the mayor's going to bring up that the game is going to be on the beach, but prior to that, an 8th grader, Scarlett, from Titleman, is going to be singing the national anthem a cappella. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah. No, good job
So,
with that,
that's
Deputy
all.
Mayor. That's
That's
fun.
all.
And again, that's Phillies on the beach at 8 o'clock. Councilman Yeager, anything?
I'd actually like to, I want to make a request having to do with the audit. I didn't want to talk about it when we had the first review of the audit, but it is something that's is reviewed by the public. I think when you read the audit, and by the way, I just want to make sure everybody understands, the audit was for 2022, and it has nothing to do with our financial management right now. So, in any case, when you read this document, I believe that the main condition, the thing that they found to be the worst problem our CFO's already addressed. He's taking care of that, and I like that a lot. That's great. But if, any other person's reading this document, there are a lot of recommendations in here. I mean, there's things like they're recommending having a GASB actuarial, audit. They're recommending new forms for employees when they come in. They're recommending, addressing the payroll balance at the bank balance. Just, it's a journal entry, I guess. But there's probably 10 or 11 recommendations. You may have addressed a lot of these already. This may already be done. But what I'm asking for is a list to be made of all of these recommendations in here, and then just to check the box when we've addressed them. And I think it's for the sake of the people at Cape May. I think they would be more comfortable. I mean, people have talked to me about it. They said, that's not a great audit. And I said, compared to last year, compared to 2021, it was a great audit. But I think it would be good if there's things that have been addressed, let us know. And as things are getting addressed, let us know. Maybe it's something that we could see.
Can I make a
occasionally.
recommendation?
That recommendation.
Council, would you be comfortable with having Mr. Yeager work with our CFO on those recommendations in the audit and then present a report back to the council?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I think, and it's something that, we're not all going to get done right away.
Right.
But at least we could have a regular
Right.
report. That would be,
So you'd be willing to do that?
I'd be more than willing to do that.
Well, let me make a motion then, because just to make it official, I'll make the motion that we have Councilman Yeager work with our CFO on the recommendations for the audit, and then provide a report back to council at their leisure. We're not going to rush anything.
Right, right.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on that, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes,
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
I think you should abstain on that.
You
I should abstain.
I think you
Okay.
should.
Well, if you want the job, you can say yes.
I was going to say no.
I don't think it's a make or break.
I was up-
No,
Not a make or break. Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Councilmember, Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Good. I don't have anything other than Phillies on the beach tonight. Hope you can make it out at 8 o'clock. Going back to what Mr. Meyer just said, Mr. Solicitor, is it possible for council to go into closed session now to discuss this further as to the, and the reason I'm asking is this. I forgot that Councilman Meyer was absent for the last closed session. The other 4 members of council had a discussion that I know Maureen McDade and Mike Yeager were performing those duties based on that prior conversation. Mr. Meyer has put forth what he thinks should happen. I'm fine with that, but there needs to be a discussion that I think shouldn't be had in public in regards to those resumes and how we handle them.
The answer is yes. It's the type of discussion that can occur in closed session. It's not something that we anticipated before this meeting coming up, but that's okay. That's one of the reasons we could do this at the table if council wants to enter into closed session.
I think, Mr. Meyer, based on what was had at the previous closed session, the decision was made for 2 members of council, including myself, as they come in and look at which they felt should move forward. And the idea was only perhaps lighten the load of council and expedite. But I just want to say this publicly to you and to everyone. The first thing what was said to all of council was if there is someone that is excluded, and by the way, everyone's getting the resumes from the county, from the city clerk, so everyone sees the exact same thing. If there was one that you felt shouldn't have been excluded, anyone who's, any one person who said that they want that person interviewed, that person would be interviewed, no problem.
And I would like to clarify, I think what Councilman Yeager and our intention was looking at the resumes and just having a preliminary conversation with the candidates to say, you know, what you can't get from paper. Why is it that you think that you would have the, you know, qualifications for this position? And in that would provide a summary in a closed session to everyone to say, this is what the conversation was. This is what the discussion entailed. Nothing that would even suggest that we would exclude anyone. We would just give you the feedback and really was.
So just the reason I want to go into closed session is several candidates, is my understanding, have already been discussed for a meeting. So I don't necessarily want to, I want to discuss that with everyone in closed session as to where exactly we're at.
I don't necessarily think we have to go into closed session. I think we're having half the conversation right now. I don't want to keep anybody from going to the game on the beach either. It's a policy decision, and if the city council wants to make a motion that the policy in this decision is to have a subcommittee vet out some of the candidates by giving them phone calls, someone should make a motion in a second. We can vote on that right now. 2, we can just do this all together in the next closed session and vet out amongst ourselves. We only have 6 applicants, folks. I mean, I have done 7. We only have 7 applicants. So my point is, it's not that heavy of a load to have a
I totally agree with you. And I have no problem interviewing every single one of them with all of council in a closed session.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, man. I didn't
No, go ahead.
interrupt you. I just say, you know, we should have a closed session saying, these people are on the table, these people are off the table. Let's come up with a date, we can interview the folks that are still on the table. I think that's the only reason we should have a closed session, is to discuss the individuals as a group.
Then I think we need that now.
Whatever you think, Mayor.
Because of some of the things that had already progressed, I don't want to entangle the applicants.
I just don't want individual members having phone calls and conversations with the applicants.
So let's
Before
discuss
we-
that in closed
before we-
session right now.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we go into closed session. Do I
I'll
have,
second that motion.
okay. Roll call, are any questions on that? Roll call?
Should we just clarify, this is to discuss the city manager position, but not the current employee?
Not the current city manager, the
The
discussion-
vacancy.
the closed session discussion is going to be limited to the discussion of candidates and for the protection of their, you know, privacy. Council's going to discuss that in closed session and potentially council's procedure on how they want to handle that internally in the context of attorney-client privilege. So that's the scope of closed session that we're going in tonight.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do I, roll call, please?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes. And for the general public, I'm going to go to public comment at this point.
Thank you.
Just so we can close the meeting otherwise, because we will not be taking action on the closed session. Please. So we open it up for public comment.
My comment, or my question has to do with the audit.
Sorry, name and address,
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry.
Thank you. Just for the record.
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue.
Thank you.
My question has to do with the audit from page 45 of the audit, having to do with note number 4 and the cash. And it states, I'm just going to read from here, Gupta does not protect intermingling trust funds such as salary withholdings. As of December 31st, 2022, I'm just going to approximately $4 million of the city's bank balances of $42 million was exposed to custodial credit risk, which also happened in 2021, about $4 million. So we have about $4 million that is not, from what my understanding, is not insured, that's in the bank.
Yeah.
And I thought we had done a resolution to fix this, 1/18/04/2023.
Yeah, so that 4 million is as of year end 2022. This was addressed in March of this year to move all the funds to their correct accounts so that everything is covered.
Okay, I guess why I'm asking this question is because at the couple meetings ago, you say that all the monies were still in sturdy savings. And I thought that's where we had that issue, that it was over the amount, and they were commingling that money, that $4 million, and that's why it wasn't insured, and we were going to do New Jersey ARM with that.
No, that's unrelated. It's just that the funds can be intermingled. So if money is due from one fund to the other fund, it needs to be transferred to that fund. It can't just sit in the original fund. That's why there was a lot of money owed in between the funds, that $4 million at year end of 2022. So in March of 2023, the auditors and I worked through to correct all of that, to move the funds to the correct accounts so that everything is appropriately covered.
So all the money's in sturdy.
Yes.
Okay, I thought we also passed a resolution, and I don't have the number, that the council was going to look at it every year to decide if they were going to stay with the current bank or go out to bid and see where the best interest rate was.
And that's what Kevin does.
But the council you didn't do a bid, right? You just went individually to banks?
So my understanding, and pardon,
No, go ahead.
I think that what they adopted was that every September, where Kevin or the CFO is meant to present a report on interest-bearing accounts to council, and that's where they would discuss if they're getting the best bang for their buck. I don't believe in that resolution there was anything specifying that we had to go out to bid. I think it was mandating that the CFO present a report to council on the subject.
You know, when I was looking for information on this, I noticed that the league just did a presentation or a training on this last month, and it was a shame because if I had known that, I probably would have attended it too, to see how it was actually the league did a presentation on how to go out to bid for the best bank interest rate, is what they had done. My second question.
We had and just factually, we had the most interest this year than that we've ever had.
Right, but interest rates is also going up everywhere else. So it's not like
I'm
it's just.
saying ever. I mean, I'm not talking this year or fluctuation that year. I'm saying the most we've ever had.
Right, but interest rates are going up, so I would assume.
Interest rates have been up in the past as well. So I just want to be clear. We had record interest, more than we've ever had as a city.
Right, but is it the best? I'm not saying.
A good thing.
I know we're getting interest, but is it the best interest? That's all I'm saying. Should we diversify to do two different banks and not put all our money all in one bank?
I remember when we were looking at the ARM, there was a lot of people that were extremely concerned about us even looking at the ARM, which was backed by the full faith of the United States government. And the good thing that came out of that was there was negotiation with our local bank. They gave us a very good interest rate, and we have a good rate.
So are we in, I need clarification. Are we in the ARM, New Jersey ARM, or not?
No, no funds have been.
But we voted to allow our CFO up to a certain amount, I think it was $1 million, his jurisdiction to, if he felt that the ARM was coming to the point where, hey, I can get more interest, then he has the right to move those funds.
Okay, so it just comes down to what the CFO thinks that we should go into the ARM or not, is what we go.
Up to a certain.
If we go into the ARM.
Up to the limit of the resolution, yes.
Okay.
I mean, and that's the role of a CFO.
That's the role of the CFO.
Okay, my other question has to do with Kevin. The department heads usually do presentations like Casey mentioned. Do you have the date for those presentations yet?
Not a set date, but I'm planning either third or fourth week of November.
Okay, only because that's going to be before the next council meeting, I guess. That's why I was just wondering if you were.
No, next council meeting is November 8th.
8th. So it's going to be after that one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other question? Any other public comment? Okay, motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. For the record, the time is 5 minutes to 7 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Going to the game?
Yeah, eventually.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure. Appreciate it. Guys, Zach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. My son's there now. So my son, he was at the Grand Slam game, when Stock at the Grand Slam. He was there, the clinching game last week, and he's at game 2 tonight. So the kid's living the life.
Good job. Just say there's no action.
Sure, yeah.
We're, okay, the time is now 7:14, and no action will be taken. I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Go
Bye-bye.
Phillies.
Go Phils.